let's face it, people are behind on their goals in 2024.
Coming up on the Melanin Money Show.
If I don't give myself the benefit of time and the benefit of compounding, I'm not going to get the most out of the thing. Problem is when you don't double down on the original idea, the original concept, you don't get the benefit of the compounding.
Just by the sheer nature of sticking with something over a longer timeline, the results of the same work that you were doing 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago are going to give you results that you could never imagine. Hopefully this episode gives them the peace of mind, the confidence, and the perseverance to continue striving in the right direction to achieve the goals that they hit, even if they have to scoot the timeline back.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Melanin Money Show.
Cheer.
You know the vibes. Back in studio. Hey, we appreciate y'all patience through that little struggle phase of virtual podcast.
Ain't
episodes.
No more virtual podcasts in 2024.
Ain't no more. Hey, you heard it. You know what I'm saying? So,
all in person.
All in person. All right.
Respectfully, we look too good out in person.
Yeah, we do need to be in person.
At least I look too good for it.
Hey, don't ever play yourself. Don't ever play yourself. Listen. And if y'all are watching on YouTube, we got the official uniform on today.
Yes, sir.
Profit Collection just recently dropped. Y'all been asking. It ain't one of them things that people be like, a lot of people been asking me. Y'all really been asking, right? So it's dropped. We got the hoodies, we got the crew necks, we got the full jogger sets, we got the hats, got the mugs even, right? For y'all coffee drinkers, right? We got everything y'all need. And as of this episode, you actually have one more day to buy anything from the collection and actually be entered to win into a big giveaway.
Yeah, man. I mean, how can you lose when you started from nothing?
How can you lose when you started from nothing? That is what's, matter of fact, that's a good story to start. But I don't know if we told that story.
I think we told
formally.
it.
We did.
It's still a great story.
It's still a great story. Why not, right? So it was 2021, I want to say it was.
Yep.
Yeah, 2021. We were in Miami at a mastermind event. And it was at we ended up going out that night to where was it? To see it was like a festival or something. We saw like Burner Boy.
Yeah.
Whoever it was.
WizKid.
Yeah. And we was having a good time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Had a few of them things. Mm-hmm. And I just had this idea. It just came to me. I was like, yo.
You were screaming it from the mountaintops.
I was screaming it from the mountaintops. I was like, yo, bro, it's all profit. Carter was like, what you talking about? I was like, bro, it's all profit. I mean, listen, bro, like we ain't supposed to be here. How could you lose when you started with nothing? Right? It's like, yeah, we entrepreneurs, we in the business, like, and it's all about profit. Everybody posting revenue screenshots, like it's a double entendre. I was going crazy.
Bro, I was like, put the margarita down, bro. But it's dope because you actually followed through with it.
Yeah. So the collection is live. It's official. I've been obviously been teasing it for a little while. Actually, I owe our producer right now who's recording. I owe him I just remember. I owe him a shirt. So I got you on that, brother. But it's officially live now. And so that's the story behind the collection. We wearing it. It's a vibe. Make sure you go get yours. And yeah, man. So Carter, how you feeling, bro? I'm
feeling phenomenal, man. We just so we talk about real time things that happen. So we just ordered a DoorDash,
right?
And your item came and my item didn't.
And you technically were the one that ordered it.
I was the one that ordered it. I'm like, yo, like, how do you forget that? Like my order? Like, how do you like see the DoorDash order and then bring something that's incomplete?
Right.
And then I had a memory moment where I was like, you know what? This isn't worse than the time that you had. So can you please,
bro?
Because we want to do the reach of the week on this podcast, and bro, that to date is
the wildest,
the most hilarious delivery story I have ever not only heard, but I witnessed it as well
in real time.
Yeah.
Right. So as fate would have it, we're at a mastermind event. Y'all can tell we go to a few of these. Mm-hmm. Right. We're at another mastermind event in Arizona. By the way, Arizona's a vibe. Shout out to Arizona. Yeah. And we had went out that night. We went to the casino. And we was hungry. We had because we were on the resort, and so like we had pretty much ate all we could eat in terms of like their options, right? So I was like, but tonight, though.
And the resort food was closed.
It was closed. That was the other thing, right? It's not like it wasn't good. It's just like, okay, cool. It's the last night. I want some wings. If y'all don't know us, we love wings. So if you live in a city that we were traveling to, let us know who got the favorite. Matter of fact, let us know in the comments who has the most fire wings in your city, because we probably gonna end up being there at some point in time, and we're gonna use this as a reference list for our favorite wing spots. But anyway, so I ordered some wings. And I was excited.
No, we ordered the wings while we were at the casino.
Like premeditated.
Like by the time we make it back home, the wings gonna be there.
Wings gonna be ready to kick your feet off, you kick your shoes off, ready to go, right? And so I get there, dude calls me and he's like, yo, I'm at the front, but I don't know if I got your full order. I'm thinking like you got half the wings? Like what's the issue? Okay. Anyway, so I go to the front and I see a guy. I think I kind of see a guy holding something, but like, that can't be my guy because my guy should have a bag with like 20, 30 wings in it. And then he's like, George? I was like, yeah, that's me. He's like, I have your ranch. I was like, and? He's like, yeah, well, this was the only thing that was on the order. I was like, I felt weird getting the order, but like, this is what they said the order. I was like, there's no way. And I showed him the receipt. And he's like, bro, this is all I got. So he, at 11:30 at night, this man made a 25-minute drive to deliver me some ranch. One thing of ranch at that.
It wasn't even the big tub.
It was one thing of ranch.
The small circle.
The one where you do 2 dips and
it's done. 2 dips
and
it's done, bro.
With the receipt taped to it is the sickest work, right? Like, I'm like, bro, you got the receipt taped to it like it's a real order. So that was ridiculous.
Bro, I just imagine him delivering the ranch on the passenger seatbelt on, and it's just a fucking thing of ranch, bro.
Bro, I was so hot. I just didn't understand. Like, I just didn't understand how that was even possible.
Yeah, the most disappointing night because the wings wasn't just for you; it was for me, you, some other people. Yeah, and when we delivered that ranch, bro, everybody scattered from the table and laughed at, bro. That was so.
I had to walk back. I went to the front to go get it. Everybody's waiting. I'm supposed to come back with the hero wings in hand. Yeah, and I'm coming back with a single container of ranch, which is insane.
Oh, absolutely crazy.
What's y'all's favorite wildest delivery story?
Yeah.
Let us know that in the comments too. Like, yo,
Uber, that is definitely ours.
Yeah, Uber Eats, DoorDash, y'all be wilding sometimes. Postmates was the worst. I'm glad they like went out. I think they got acquired or something. Postmates was the worst of them all. I always had issues with Postmates.
Yeah. But we are here. We here. Anyway, in other news, okay. So today's episode is actually off a recent conversation that we had like yesterday. I was like, bro, this is like for a perfect podcast episode. Right. So we are embarking into the second quarter of the year. And one thing that I always do, or I always try to do, is reflect on previous years before I set the plan for the next year or the next quarter. Right. So on my plane ride over here, I'm like pulling up old documents. I keep like several journals about different goals I set. And I came across this one journal that I had, and I had set a goal in October of 2021. And the goal at that moment was I wanted to make 10x the revenue I was currently making. So I wrote the revenue number down I was making in 2021. And I said, like, I want to do 10x this number by 12/31/2023. So the end of last year. Right. And that was the biggest number I could think of that I actually truly believed in. So I wrote it down. It was a goal that I didn't know I was going to achieve, but I wrote it down. And when I reflected on it yesterday, I had literally made that exact amount of money by 12/31/2023. Yep. And it was such a surreal moment for me. Like, I just sat there for like 10 minutes like, yo, manifestation is real.
It's real.
Like, that is like the number on the dot. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the manifestation is real. And so then when I landed, I called you about it. I'm like, bro, like, I sent you a screenshot. Like, yo, like, this is the goal I set, bro. Look, this is how much money I made last year. This is crazy. And you were like, do you think that you made that amount of money because you wrote it down? And I was like, absolutely. And then your second question was even better than the first one. He was like, well, do you think that you only made that amount of money because you wrote that number down? Basically meaning, do you think you would have made more if you wrote a bigger number? Right. I was like, that's a great question. And my original answer was, yeah, if I wrote more, I probably would have made more. But my ultimate rebuttal, after I thought about it a little bit more, was that was the biggest number I could think of. Right. If I would have wrote anything larger than that, I wouldn't have believed it in the first place because I couldn't even see it happening. Right. So my ultimate takeaway, which is what we're going to discuss today, is the only reason I was able to write that number down is because I knew one person that was making that amount of money. Mm-hmm. And because I knew that one person that was making that amount of money, I was able to at least write that down because one of my favorite quotes is, you cannot be what you cannot see. And I saw somebody making that money, so that was the standard. So to answer your ultimate question was, I could have put more if I would have saw more. Mm-hmm. And so it just opened up this whole pool of, we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to get around people that will expose us to new goals, because if we can't see them with somebody else, it's hard to see it for ourselves.
Big facts, big facts. And the main thing that stuck out to me, because you sent me a screenshot of like some document, right?
Yeah,
like that you had to like fill in. And the tagline was, there's no unreasonable goals, just unreasonable timelines, right? And so for me, what that spark was like, okay, because if y'all don't know this by now, like we have a very great dynamic, right? So there's a lot of parallels. I think like even like in war, you have like your person who's on the front lines who's like, I got the machine gun,
They
right?
got the sniper in the back.
Yeah, you got the sniper in the back. Wait. Yeah. So now I'm the sniper. He has a machine gun, right? And so for me, I think very methodical. I think very, very big picture, right? And so with that, right, like sometimes even though for me things can seem so vivid and so clear, even though it might be 1,000 yards away, right? And so there's always this balancing act of, yes, I believe that. You can see that. What do we need to do today that is realistic, that is reasonable to start making steps towards it? It's not that that's not possible, right? But it's like, what do we need to do today to make it possible, right? And so for me, it was kind of liberating in a sense that knowing that nothing that we want to do is unreasonable. We just have to be reasonable about the timelines, which shout out to Myron Golden. He has this approach of like the root system and the fruit system. A lot of us think about the fruit of like, oh, I want to make X amount of dollars. I want to make $1 million or $10 million or whatever it is. And that's the fruit. That's the thing that everybody can see, that what you get the accolades for. But in order to set reasonable timelines, you have to understand what are the things I have to do for that to be true. Like how far do I have to dig for the tree to be that big? Oh, that's a bar.
that rhyme. That's crazy. Yeah.
How far do I have to dig for the tree to be that big? Right. And so that's where my mind went. So it's like, you can't just say, and not to say that we do this, but I think we can be more intentional. You can't just say, I have this goal. This is what I want to hit. This is what I want to do. True. Now let's put just as much energy and effort and understanding the depth of what we got to dig to make it happen, so that we can also ask ourselves again, are you sure you still want that? And there's nothing wrong with asking yourself that, right? Like it might, because the good thing is if the answer is still yes, you have a deeper conviction because you now know everything that's going to take to do it, and you still said yes.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that was two things that stuck out to me. Number one is that the reason you have to build the foundation is because you don't want the building that you're about to build to fall over once the first bad thing happens, right? So like if you set a goal for $1 million, you can hit the lottery and make $1 million, but guess what? You won't be a millionaire very long, right? So you have to dig the foundation of becoming a person of value to be worth $1 million or to attract $1 million. That way, when you attract it, you actually get to keep it because you became the person that deserves it and that's willing to work for it. So I think that that's one thing that people should take away.
100%.
When you set a goal, you need to become the person that is not just about hitting the goal. Right. The reason people hit goals is because they've become the person that is worthy of that goal.
Big facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you become a millionaire not for the money that you make, but for the person you must become to earn the millions.
Exactly.
Right. And so it's so important to do that work, because what happens is your level of success can only stay relative to your belief system and just like your level of personal development. Right. Like if you have like an outsized, like, oh, like you just like came up on something, right? Like cool, but you're going to reduce or go back to equilibrium based upon what you can see. Like you said earlier, like, because if you don't truly believe that that's a part of your identity, it's impossible for you to stay there. You're going to be too uncomfortable. But now we're at a place where there's certain targets that we hit. And while we have gratitude and we're grateful for the accomplishments, we have the identity of millionaires now. So we're not going to go trick off the money or feel like, oh, we got to go do something crazy. Because what happens is what you're actually doing is you're behaving yourself back into the place you feel comfortable. It's not that you're making a stupid decision. You literally have to do something to behave yourself back to your comfort zone. So people think like, oh, they have a good week in the gym. And it's like, oh, well, why do I feel the need to have the cheat meal? Why do I feel the need to like break my diet? It's because you don't yet have the identity of the person that has the six pack all the time, right? So you feel good. It's like, oh, I feel this a little more good than normal. So I should probably indulge in something to get me back to what is more normal, right? And so that's like, it's the self-sabotage 101, but it only happens because your personal development and who you are has not caught up to the identity of your current reality.
Yeah, now let's unveil this a little bit more, because the quote of "there's no such thing as unreasonable goals, just unreasonable timelines." I feel like there's so much freedom in 100%. That quote, because Alex Hormozy says this all the time. Like, like you underestimate what you can do in a year, but you overestimate what you can do in a year, but you underestimate what you can do in a decade.
Right.
And especially entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, starting out entrepreneurs, seasoned entrepreneurs, we hold ourselves to extremely high standards, and we give ourselves timelines to do things, and just to put our pressure on us, because we want to achieve our goals. But the freedom to know that you can have everything you want, just not right now. I think it's a lot of peace in that, especially in the world where we're surrounded by instant gratification.
Big facts.
And just to remind yourself that if the goal is 100,000, the goal is 1 million, if the goal is 10 million, if the goal is 100 million, you can do all of that.
Right.
It's just going to take more time than you expect it to take.
Right.
And one of my favorite quotes from Hormozy is, "The world belongs to those who can do the work the longest without seeing the results from their labor." So if you can just focus on the work.
Hey, aren't you tired of buying courses in those emotional states when you want to get a result, but then you actually don't do anything with the course? Do you know on average the completion rate for a course is about 2%? But here's the thing, it's not entirely your fault. The problem is you buy the course, but you don't have access to the source who actually created it.
See, that's why we're doing something different. With the Millionaire Club, you're not just going to get access to courses. You'll get access to the people who created it, so you can get your questions answered. Because it's not just about learning, it's about taking that information so you can start earning. So the Millionaire Club is going to give you access to courses, but not just that. It's an entire university of information. We have financial flicks. We have hundreds of previous recordings. But more than that, y'all, we have an amazing community of people just like you who are trying to become a first-generation millionaire. So like GA said, like, you can survive without community, but you can't thrive without community. So this is the place you need to be, right?
100%, because here's the thing. If it was just about information, we'd all be billionaires with six packs. So that's why every single Monday, we're going to set the tone for your week with Melanin Millionaire Mondays, where our entire community is going to meet up. The energy is going to be high. We're going to set the intention for what we're going to execute on so we can move the needle forward, and Carter and I and the rest of our team can keep you accountable.
So that's enough information. You see the rest in the club. All you got to do, click the link below, sign up, and start your journey to your first millionaire year. Let's get it.
Let's go.
Like, if you want 1 million YouTube subscribers,
right,
the goal shouldn't be like, okay, I want 1 million subscribers in 2 years. The goal is, I'm going to make a video every single week,
right,
for the next 10 years.
Period.
That's all I'm going to do.
Right.
The goal is to have 1 million subs, but I'm going to commit to making one video a week for the next 10 years. If I do that, I'll then look up and check the race and see where I'm at.
100%.
If it's not there, guess what? I'm going to do a video a day for the next 10 years until I get there. Because I know 1 million subscribers is more than doable. It just might not be doable in a time frame that you initially set up.
Because it's not about the win, the WHEN. It's about the win, the WIN. As long as you know that you're going to win and you believe that, right? That's what you got to stay focused on. You can't be focused on, is it going to happen tomorrow? Is it going to happen next month? Is it going to happen this year? Our first full year of YouTube, we were like 1,000 subs after the first year, right? But when we were at month 6 of producing a video every week, did we say, gosh, man, like, look at the subs. Like, should we really keep doing this? No, we kept going. Then 2022 rolled around, same thing. Episode every week for a year. We look up like, okay, things are moving a little bit. Okay. Then 2023, things really started to take off, right? And now we're in 2024, and we know that we'll be at 100,000 plus subs by the end of the year. And guess what? For some odd reason, if we don't, do you think we're going to shut our YouTube channel down? We're going to keep going until we hit that next milestone, right? But things started to compound. I started to see things in the comment. Literally, is like last week, people saying, oh man, one of my favorite podcasts. I listen to y'all religiously when I work out or every single week. But guess what? It would have never happened. Like, if we weren't consistent enough for long enough, people wouldn't be able to say that. They can only say that because every time they go look on a Wednesday, there's a new episode every time. Rain, sleet, snow, hail. And if y'all are long-term listeners of the show, y'all know that regardless of what happens, we're going to record, right? But that's what you got to be focused on. You got to be focused on the activity, not the result, because you can't control the result. You never can, and you never will. But you can control your activity. You can control how you show up, and that's all you should focus on.
Yeah, and I think that another thing that people can, because I know some people are probably like behind on their goals and they're like, oh, am I a failure or whatever? Like, it's okay to readjust the timeline. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing's wrong with that. If you set a timeline to achieve something, it's okay to readjust the timeline, but just continue focusing on the activity, and the result will come. And here's something I learned recently that I think will be helpful for the audience. So, number one, starting anything is usually the hardest part of doing it, right? Like, even to this day, I remember making the decision to quit my job has been the hardest decision I ever had to make as an entrepreneur. Yeah, that was the first decision, and that was the hardest, and that took the most convincing, and that took the most courage. Everything else since then, not to say the decisions weren't bigger, but like I had no muscle at that beginning. Now the muscle is built. So number one, the hardest thing to do is usually start. Number two, the longer you do something, the more outsized returns you get for the level of work that you do. Fact. And we can use investing as a example. So if you invest at $1,000 a week or $1,000 a month for a year, it's going to do something. Right. $1,000 a year, $1,000 a month for 2 years, it's going to do something. But when you're 10 years in, that 11th year is probably going to produce more returns than the past 6 years. Big facts. Because you have it's a compound effect of doing the same work. So like your returns are going to be outsized the longer you do something. So I say that so that people can understand that just by the sheer nature of sticking with something over a longer timeline, the results of the same work that you were doing 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago are going to give you results that you could never imagine. You might be able to do in 1 week what you were able to do in 1 year. Right. So like that's another reason why just sticking to whatever the goal is for a longer timeline, you get to do the same work that you were doing before, but it's going to produce more fruits because the tree is bigger.
Big facts. 100%. Right. So the thing is like when you think about it, you really got to realize that at the end of the day, if I don't give myself the benefit of time and the benefit of compounding, I'm not going to get the most out of the thing. Like when you constantly start over, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with, branching out and doing new things. But the problem is when you don't double down on the original idea, the original concept, you don't get the benefit of the compounding, right? It's almost like planting a new tree every day, right? You're never going to get that benefit of saying like, oh my gosh, this tree's been here for 10 years and now it's full of apples. And like, you're just never going to get that benefit. Like all you're going to have is that feeling, which everybody seems to love, of like starting something new, but you don't get that compound effect of like what it really means to stay down with something for an extended period of time.
Yeah. And I think the question, like, what are we in a rush for?
Right. The time's going to pass anyway. I'm gonna give you a example, matter of fact. So like I'm finally in the market for a car again. Right. Jesus. I sold my, I had a BMW Coupe 4 Series. It was sweet in 2018, but I was living in Uptown high rise at the time, and I could walk to my barbershop. I could walk to the office, and then I moved, and I was about to get another car. Then the pandemic hit. So I was like, well, definitely need another car right now. Right. So long story short, it's been almost 6 years, right? Since I've had a car of my own. Obviously me and my wife share a car or whatever. I bought her a Mercedes SUV. But I did the math because I actually did it. I was like, I'm going to take the amount of money that I normally put on my car payment. I'm going to invest it right in a separate account. And so all in is about $1,000 a month. My car payment was like around $6. Car gas out at the time was around $200 a month, give or take. And then car insurance, I just rounded it out at like $100 and some odd dollars, right? So it's like right around $1,000, right? $1,000 a month, right? And I looked, and the amount of money that I've that I've now accumulated in that 6-year period is not enough money to buy the car I want in cash.
Wow.
Right? It's enough money to buy the car in cash. Now, I'm not going to do it for obvious reasons, right?
No sense to do that.
But it's enough money to buy the car that I want in cash. Right? And just by compounding, just by doing the time was going to pass anyway. I same amount of money I would have allocated towards a car payment and gas and whatever, the same amount of money I could have just tricked off on whatever. I just say, you know what? I'm just going to put it aside. That first month, it was just $1,000. The second month, it wasn't much more than that. The third month, whatever. But 5-6 years, right? And the time passed anyway. And now I have enough money to pay in cash for my dream car if I wanted to do that, right? So the time is going to pass anyway. Yeah. What are we in a rush for?
Yeah. And like the epiphany moment I have for this is like, I've achieved a lot of the goals I set out to achieve by the grace of God. Cool. Here to tell y'all right now, the feeling of achieving the goal is inconsequential in compared to the journey it took you to get there.
Big facts.
I hit the goals like, oh, dude, like the feeling was there for 48 hours.
Right. Like you would think it'd be like something like so revolutionary. It's a moment, but it's like, oh, like I'm glad
Tell your friends about it. Oh, yeah. And then it's like, what's the next goal? Right. So I think that once you learn that, and once you learn that enough, you realize that the journey is usually the funnest part about it. So like the longer you can stay in the journey, the real talk, the more fun you're gonna have.
Big facts.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a reality situation. Like the amount of fun that we've had shooting these podcasts, when we hit 100,000 subs or 500,000 subs, 1 million subs, it's going to be a great moment.
Right.
But nothing's going to be better than the time that we sat, talked, laughed, shared stories. Like that's just what it is. So with that perspective, guys, what is the rush?
What is the rush?
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the rush? You're going to be, God willing, you're going to be on this planet for a very long time. So there, and I heard this other quote. It said, it said anxiety will never change the outcome. Is it your level of anxiety has no effect on the outcome? Right. The outcome is going to be the outcome.
Big facts.
So whether you're super anxious about it or not anxious about it, the outcome because it's going to be the outcome. So anxiety is a waste of energy and a waste of momentum. So like if you're so anxious about hitting this goal, you're so anxious about achieving this thing, when you achieve it, you're not going to feel better because you were more anxious about it. Right. So it's giving yourself more time and more leeway to set the money goal, set the moving goal, set the car goal, like whatever. Right. You got plenty of time, Joe. Just chill.
So here's a question, right? The question is, what's the fine line between giving yourself time and grace to get there while still having a sense of urgency for doing the work, right? Because there's two types of people. One person gonna look to this and gonna feel so relieved, like, man, I put so much pressure on myself. They already getting it, but they feel a sense of relief knowing that if they don't hit it as fast as they thought they were gonna hit it, it's okay. There's that person. Then there's the other person who ain't doing much of nothing right now, ain't really pushing themselves, and like, yeah, see, I told y'all been trying to tell me I need to do all this. Carter and George said I can just sit back, it's gonna come to me. Yeah, it's gonna manifest its way right into my lap, right? So what's that like that balance between having the urgency and the intention of achieving and striving for the thing, but also not just sitting on your laurels and thinking it's gonna come to you?
Action and activity, right? Like this is why it's so important that when you set goals, your immediate next step is to set the activity goal, right? So I think the difference between the procrastinators and the perfectionists, people who are actually taking action and want the best result, is the level of action and activity they have every single day. If you are doing the activity every single day to get to your goal, then you have the right to obtain the peace of knowing that it will come. Right. If you're not doing anything, meaning if your goal is to lose 50 pounds, but you're not going to the gym and saying one day that 50 pounds is going to drop. Right. No. But if you're going to the gym 5 days a week, you're eating right, then you don't need to check the scale every day because you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you're doing the activity that will breed the result. The win is coming. The win, WHEN, is not up to you at the moment.
Yeah. And even within that, I think that, like, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that, like, if you are doing the work it should give you some solace and comfort in checking the stat, but not checking the stats from a vantage point of like, oh, did I hit the target? But like just as a measuring stick to see how things are going. Because I think some people like venture to the extremes of like not wanting to know because it's like, oh, if I don't know, then like I don't feel as bad if I haven't hit the goal. So I think like if you're doing the work, right? Let's go back to the fitness example. And you step on the scale. Okay, maybe you haven't lost as much weight as you think you should have lost in that time period, but what I can always tell people, here's what you do know. You do know that the answer is not going back to whatever you weren't doing before, right? So it's like, okay, cool. Check the scale. Maybe it's up, maybe it's down, whatever. But feel the peace should come from the fact that I don't control that number, but I am controlling my actions, and it will catch up, right? And maybe my results are being shown in other ways. Again, staying true to the analogy, like body composition is a real thing. You could weigh a certain amount, but because you've lost body fat, you could still weigh the same thing and look completely different. So then you start to understand, okay, well, maybe like I need to broaden my measuring stick, right? So that I'm not just harping on the 100,000 subs, right? What about my engagement? What about, my downloads? Like, are there other metrics that I can use to have a more well-rounded understanding that I'm making progress? And regardless of what those metrics tell you, still do the work, because not doing the work isn't gonna, that's the only guarantee you have of not getting there.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's like all work works. It's either working for you or working on you, but it is working.
Right.
And just because you don't see the results of the fruit of your labor, that means it's currently working on you more than it's working for you. And that's usually the case with all things in gym. Right. It's working on you at first before it starts working for you. So, and that goes to everything in business, man. But I just think this was a really dope conversation to have, especially because it was so relevant to what we just went through. And let's face it, people are behind on their goals in 2024.
Yep.
People are behind on their goals. And hopefully this episode gives them the peace of mind, the confidence, and the perseverance to continue striving in the right direction to achieve the goals that they hit, even if they have to scoot the timeline back
Big facts.
a little bit further.
Big facts. So the way I would end this and recap it is set the right goal, right? So make an honest decision about what the goal is going to be. From there, understand what it's going to take to achieve that goal so you can set the right time frame, right? And then last but not least, make sure that you are getting around the right people and environments that amplify your belief that it's possible, right? Because if you go to a convention or a conference, have a group chat of people who all have YouTube channels that are growing and thriving, it's going to amplify your belief system that it's possible for you too. If you go get some workout buddies and everybody's growing and getting their dream bodies, it's going to amplify your belief system that it's possible for you too. So make sure that you get in that environment of success. And I think that's probably one of the most important ingredients. But other than that, like I said, we try to bring out these real-time conversations. This was literally less than 24 hours ago. We were having this text conversation. So hopefully it was beneficial for you. If you love this episode, make sure that you subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcasts as well. Leave a comment and share it with somebody who needs to hear this, who might be behind on their goals in 2024. So they can have a little bit of peace of mind, recalibrate, and know that there are no unreasonable goals. Sometimes just unreasonable timelines. Until next time, guys. Peace.